Hello, citizens. My name is Pal Boom Vigilante. That's the story we're talking about over 4 years. Jeff Epstein.
References will like attempts to have Clinton testify against Epstein and Maxwell. The ABC News report mentions that there is no indication that the records contain any evidence of illegal conduct or allegations of wrongdoing by Clinton, although the accuser in the case did claim that she met the former president on Epstein's private island. Clinton's lawyers have maintained that he ended contact with Epstein in 2005 before Epstein was accused of luring underage girls to his home in Palm Beach. ABC also notes that many of the prominent names expected to be released, like Prince Andrew, have already been publicly associated with Epstein. Correct.
Be interesting to follow that. Alexandria Hoff, live for us in Washington. Alex, thank you.
Why settle for one guesstimate to see the
So that's we're gonna kill that. That is really loud. Okay, so there's that, right? What does this mean? How if these powerful names are really on it and this is really a bombshell thing, then when this gets released tomorrow, it'll get released at midnight, or there'll be some other big crazy story that comes out either right before it or right after it to distract everybody. Or it'll just be more like, you know, they say it's an unredacted document. We'll see about that. So as this is what we know, obviously, Bill Clinton has been on Epstein's plane 26 times. Hillary was on twice. Bill and Hillary were at Epstein's compound in New Mexico numerous times. Trump has been on 5 times. Epstein's plane 5 times. Trump, numerous women were trafficked out of Mar-a-Lago. And Acosta, who gave Epstein a sweetheart deal in 2009 in Florida, was put in the Trump cabinet. Trump picked him. So they're all guilty in my mind. And there's just the most that I see happening to this, and I said this on Status Quo when I was on Jordan's show earlier today, is there'll be some civil suits, but I don't see anybody getting arrested. There's not going to be this big bombshell. They're going to release some names, but there just isn't enough prosecution because the ruling elites control everything. Because there would have already been prosecutions. Look, there's been over 347 people have been arrested from the January 6th. 347 people. Okay. No one has been arrested. Epstein hung himself in prison with a paper t-shirt, and Maxwell's been arrested. And she was sentenced to 20 years in prison. And we already showed you how almost 2 years ago now, in like June of 2022, Maxwell, in the middle of everybody talking about the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade, Maxwell was moved from a maximum security prison in New York to a minimum security prison in Florida. The media didn't talk about it at all. It was just like so that's their tactic. There's something big happening and they do the real, they do it quietly below, or they try to minimize it, or they're just going to say, like Jean-Luc Brunel, there's a civil suit against him. Now he's dead, but there's suing Maxwell for all we know, a couple other things on Twitter. So this is a bunch of, let's do this. There's so much stuff here. There's so much, this is so tied in, so much. All right, so this was on Rising. Hold on, sorry. Hold on, let's get that squared up. This was on this Mississippi Sam. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know. I just saw this. I don't endorse this guy's. I don't know who he is, but
his and his ongoing kind of relationship with Gates, which is these messages to Gates people are 2011. So that's after he's talking about Miley Cyrus who at the time of this is 15. She's a Disney star at the time. So that's again, a clear inclination of an awareness of exactly the kind of thing Epstein goes for. It's disgusting.
Yeah. I think
Very
it's
disgusting.
It's a bit of a lens into what the world is like for bankers in America at the very high level. The emails that Lee Fong posted to Twitter, you have one from 30. This has turned into a cheesy broker fest. Totally not cool. The only cool people here are at Glenn's table, same as bat mitzvah. So maybe they've known each other for some time. The response is at 1:20 a.m. Epstein there with Miley Cyrus. And so this is like official JP Morgan emails where this exchange is happening. Was Epstein actually there with Miley Cyrus? We don't know. But the fact that they made the joke shows that these bankers on their JP Morgan emails are comfortable joking about the billionaire being out with young girls.
They were comfortable joking about a lot of really sketchy stuff. You know, we've read these emails in the past talking about who's your favorite like Disney princess. It suggests again a deep familiarity with the kind of bad and illegal stuff that Jeffrey Epstein was interested in and had already been convicted for, would eventually be arrested for again.
So there's that one. That I mean, like then there's trial. Now I got to show you all this stuff because let's talk about the media being complicit, the media deliberately wiping this out. So I've talked to you guys on this show about how during the Maxwell trial in 2021, there was 119 pages of flight logs that were released. And in it, it showed that Trump was on 4 more flights than people thought. We only thought he was on 1 at that point. That showed he was on 5. And the media didn't go nuts about it because they didn't want people, if the mainstream media is talking about, that's what happened. The mainstream media really was talking, everything has been sort of pushed under the rug, or, you know, they drop a bunch of documents at Friday night at midnight or whatever. And so, and what is the evidence that the media is shutting this down? This is Amy Rohrbach, who is an ABC, primetime journalist. Excuse me. I've played this video before. When Epstein came out in 2019, this is her talking. This is on a hot mic. She doesn't realize this. Somebody leaked this, but this is her talking on ABC about we had everything. Bill Clinton, all of them. And they killed the story. This is her saying that her bosses at ABC killed the story.
Put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us in a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, it was what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up. Hey, yep. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying
3 years ago. So this came out in 2019. That means she had all this in 2016. This whole story could have broke in 2016. So had ABC not killed this story and he was prosecuted in, let's say, 2016, then maybe some lives would have been saved. Less children would have been, because they're still getting trafficked. Do you think they stopped? They're more secretive about it now. You think it stopped? Where? No one's been arrested. So how can you tell me that the trafficking has been stopped? No one's been arrested. So where is it? Where is it? So it's I really hope these names come out. I hope Clinton is named. He's guilty. I think back in 2019, extradited. But this is the thing. No one else has been named. Maxwell, no one else has been indicted. No one else has been arrested. There's a civil suit against Jean-Luc Brunel, who hung himself in prison. Gee, does that sound familiar? He hung himself in prison 2 years ago in 2022. I covered it on this show. Nobody talked about it. I have a whole Epstein playlist. I want to see these people prosecuted. I want the victims to get justice. And I don't think it's going to happen because we live in an utterly corrupt world. I mean, none of them have been prosecuted. But because to prosecute, you would have to put Bill Clinton in jail, Donald Trump in jail, Hillary Clinton in jail, Prince Andrew. Do you see how they leverage? You hear what Amy Robach said? Because they threatened that the palace, Buckingham Palace, said, we won't give you access to Kate and Will. So this is when you watch these royal weddings. Like, who gives? I'm always like, why do we care? There's like 100 royal families around the world. Why do we care what these dumb Brits are doing? Like, why do we give a shit? And it's big. It's just gossip nonsense. And so they've said, you won't be able to interview these people. We'll pull your access to interview rich kids having a wedding. Like, who cares? And so they buckled. Don't tell me it's not rigged. I'm not pulling these ideas out of my eye. You just heard Amy Rohrbach say this. Flight logs are FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration. You have to, anyone that gets on any plane, you fly a Cessna, 45 minutes from one small town to the next, you have to log it. So I hope these people get arrested, but they won't this week. Again, I would love to be wrong. I don't need to be right. I want to be wrong. But unfortunately, the past pattern of behavior leads us to believe that if ever the media is really going to talk about Bill Clinton and him being mentioned 50 times, nothing will happen. Buy Bitcoin. Follow the money, connect the dots, get the truth, guys. That's what we do on this show. I've been connecting the Epstein dots on this show for 4.5 years. How am I able to do a better job? How is Whitney Webb and Jordan Sheridan and all these just regular people doing these shows out of our basements and our kitchens and our garages and stuff? How are we all better to do a better job of the media than these big multi-billion-dollar media companies? How is that possible? How do they just not know? They can't get a handle on this. This is the biggest story ever, and they should be all over it. But they're told to shut up about it. That's what Amy Rohrbach just confirmed, right? So guys, support what I do. I don't get money from billionaires. I don't get money from Disney or Elon Musk or anybody like that. I don't even have any sponsors. I don't even have sponsors. I don't even know if there's any sponsors that would want to sponsor this show. Can you imagine? Epstein flight logs brought to you by Wendy's hamburgers, deliciously fried to perfection that you can enjoy while perusing through flight logs. So this is the People's Channel. I'm supported by you folks. So please go to my patreon.com/Graham Elwood. Do a super chat right now. However you want to support me, I appreciate it. Go to GrahamElwood.com. Follow the money, connect the dots, get the truth. That's how we make Gotham great again. And shave your knuckles for justice. Boom.